Alright, hey guys, Mitch here from the AudioDabbler YouTube channel, and I'm going to take a look. There seems to be a lot of confusion or questions about AudioBus versus AUM, or more specifically AudioBus 3 versus AUM, because both can host audio units in the input and the effect slot. Both can do MIDI routing in roundabout ways, and both have a mixer. And so which one do you use and what applications and when do you use them? For me, I use them anytime I'm using Loopy, if I want to loop, because I think Loopy is one of the best looping applications out there. And it will not act as an inter-app audio host, and that's the main difference between AudioBus and AUM is the output, right? So how AudioBus works, if you're not familiar, you have 3 slots, just like that, and then inside the slots you can have an input, you can have an effects, and you can have an output. Okay, now in order for an app to be able to be recognized in these slots, they have to have incorporated the AudioBus SDK inside of the code of their app, and then they can be, if it's an effects app, then it can be added to the effects slot. If it's an input like a synth or drum machine or something like that, it can have input. If it has recording capabilities or looping capabilities like Loopy, like Cubasis, like anything that can receive any type of audio, then you can put it in the output slot. And that's basically how AudioBus works. But the only way to get audio to the output slot is it has to be programmed to receive audio from the output, from the input, and be able to be selected into that slot. Okay, with AUM, it's set up more traditional like a mixer, kind of like this. Okay, and then you have your input, then you have your output down here, and you can have your effects in the middle, right here. But the output down here can only be the system output, which would be your audio interface or just your speakers or your headphones. Same thing can be up here, speakers, headphones, or your system audio via your audio interface. But the difference is this can only support inter-app audio host. So if you want to get audio from one app to another app, it has to be able to act as a host in order to use AUM. And so that's the big benefit that AudioBus has over AUM is the fact that not all apps that use audio can act as an inter-app audio host. Loopy cannot. There's a lot of other apps out there that just can't do it. Bloxwave can't do it. Let's see. I need to find a list of inter-app audio host apps, but I know the major DAWs will do it, and there's a few other apps that'll do it. But if you're wanting to route audio from one app to the other, that was the main thing of AudioBus, and that's still the case. And I still use it whenever I need to put audio from one app to another that is not an inter-app audio host, like Loopy. So if you want to set up a looping session, then AudioBus will be your main section. Now you can use AudioBus in conjunction with AUM, and so you can have your loop. You could have your loop session going up here in AudioBus, and then inside of AUM, select AudioBus as the input, and then you can have the host of other things and use AUM as your main kind of mixer hosting app, and use AudioBus as kind of your looping app if you want. So that's really the main difference. Well, there's a few other differences, but that's really the main difference, is where you want your output to go. If it's to another app, then you'd have to see if it's an inter-app audio host, and if it's not, AudioBus is the way to go. If you're just wanting to send it out to the system, you know, you're not really caring about recording anything, or you just want to perform and you just want to load some synths in and things like that, then either one will be just fine. But in my opinion, get both. They're both useful. If you have the extra cash laying around, get both, because one of the benefits that AudioBus brought to the table was, see right here, can be an AudioBus SDK'd app, or it can be an audio unit. In AUM, it can only be an inter-app audio host or an AU. Okay? But the great thing about AudioBus and the way they designed their SDK whenever inter-app audio came out is that most, if not all, AudioBus apps that have the most recent, most updated SDK, or even some previous versions, but since the inter-app audio came out, can generally act as a generator for inter-app audio, which means you can use most any app inside of AUM. And so because of that, AUM, people have, I feel like maybe people have went solely to AUM and kind of not necessarily forgot about AudioBus, but don't use it as much, is because it can host. But without AudioBus, then you wouldn't really, AUM's list of apps that it could use would not be nowhere near as big as they are now because of AudioBus. And so if you want to support the developers of both, I love both of these apps. I use both of them. But even if you're not really going to use it, get AudioBus just to help the developers out, because it's definitely worth it. And like I said, app to app, depending on what apps you're wanting to use, AudioBus is the way to go if you're just doing app to app. Now if you're doing some more fancy mixing, routing, like I've got a video showing where I do some like delay feedback loops and things like that, and I can you could set up true audio sends using AUM. So it's more of a mixer. Now both can do MIDI, or both can receive MIDI to a certain extent. AudioBus again has to have their SDK, MIDI SDK, built into the app in order to do it, but it's a lot easier, especially with like Fugue Machine. You can take and load up AudioBus 3. I'll just go ahead and show you. So AudioBus, I can go down here to the bottom to the MIDI. Okay, and once I get some focus, I can do input, I can do Fugue Machine, playhead 1, and then I can do Fugue Machine, playhead 2. Oops. Right? And so without having to do anything else, if this will focus, come on, you can do it. There you go. So without having to do anything else, not having to go into settings or anything, because Fugue Machine has that SDK, I can send Fugue Machine to all of these apps right here that have the AudioBus SDK that can receive MIDI. So that is pretty nice. AUM don't have that. It can route MIDI and you can send MIDI to certain destinations, things like that, but it's a little more advanced and it's not as cut and dry. AudioBus is just like, I want MIDI from this app, this playhead, like in Fugue Machine. I want it to go from here to here. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do any settings. I don't have to go into the other app and make sure that it's only seeing Fugue Machine, channel 1, playhead 1, whatever. Go into Fugue Machine, set all the playheads. There's a lot of different settings and moving parts. And so AudioBus 3 makes that just simple. If it has that SDK. If it don't, then it won't show up and you won't be able to do it. So hopefully this helps. So I guess to recap, the output right here, where you want your audio to go, to me is the biggest decision whenever I load up a session, when I get my iPad and I start saying, okay, I want to create some music. I need to think in my head, where do I want this audio to go? Do I want it to because AUM has a mixer. AUM has a built-in recorder that will record straight into AudioShare, so that's a benefit. But if I don't want to just do that, if I don't want to record, say I want to loop, then I'm going to have to choose AudioBus, because AUM only acts as an inter-app audio, can only send audio out to an inter-app audio host. Now you can send it, AudioBus will act as an inter-app audio host, so you can send outputs from this track right here in AUM to this track in AudioBus, but you still have to have both apps. And so there's give and take, but I really recommend both. So hopefully this was helpful, guys. Hopefully I didn't blab too much, and it was all good content to help you in your decision on to use AudioBus or AUM. I say get both. Both the developers are awesome, and I use both apps all the time, just depending on which one I need, and mainly is chosen because of where I want the output to go. So thanks for watching, guys. I do have a Patreon if you're into that kind of thing, patreon.com/TheAudioDabbler. If not, just continue to like, comment, and share my videos, and I will talk to you guys later.